Like I said, it's about the blood-brain barrier. So of course I gotta drop these facts on you, get us caught up with what we dealing with. Because of course every human body has a blood-brain barrier. Mm. This is what separates the body from the brain. So for some reason it's moving slow. Okay, let me see. I guess I'll start here. Uh-huh. Y'all like and y'all share this. I'm gonna get it in right now. Okay, to get y'all all the way caught up what we dealing with, let me show you. This is coming from neurosciencenews.com. Of course, neuro meaning the brain. So this is the brain. This is science about the brain. Neuroscience. Yeah. So this is one of the major reasons I'm speaking to y'all about the blood-brain barrier, because they have something that they call in the medical field leaky brain. You know, this is connected with tumors and lesions on the brain. So leaky brain is connected with, or is linked to brain tissue damage and brain aging diseases. Like I say, tumors and lesions on the brain. And let's get into it a little bit, but the summary is people with cerebral small vessel damage who also had a leaky blood brain barrier had more tissue damage after 2 years than those whose blood brain barrier was intact. Well, so people with leaky blood brain barrier had more tissue damage after just 2 years than those whose blood brain barrier was intact. This is a common reoccurring theme in people with tumors. They have leaky blood brain barriers. As people age, changes in the tiniest. Why does it keep doing that? All right. As people age, changes in the tiniest blood vessels in the brain. Let me go back. But as people age, changes in the tiniest blood vessels in the brain, a condition called cerebral small vessel disease, can lead to thinking and memory problems and stroke. These changes can also affect the blood brain barrier, a layer of cells that protect the brain from toxins circulating in the blood. Uh, Now, a new study has found that people with cerebral small vessel disease who have blood brain barrier leakage had more brain tissue damage over 2 years than people with less brain blood barrier leakage. The findings appear in neurology, the science of the brain. Previous research has shown that disruption of the blood brain barrier is increased in people with cerebral small vessel disease, said study author Danielle Kirchhoffs, medical doctor of Maastricht University Medical Center in Maastricht, Netherlands. People with cerebral small vessel disease also may have brain lesions called white matter hyperintensities. Hold on, let me go to where I can see it closer. Uh, People with cerebral small vessel disease may also have brain lesions called white matter hyperintensities. Such lesions are visible by MRI and believed to be signs of brain damage and a marker of severity. Hold on. A marker of the severity of disease. For our study, we wanted to see if a leaky blood-brain barrier was linked to degeneration of brain tissue, even before these brain lesions appear. We looked at normal brain tissue surrounding and close to the brain lesions because we consider the tissue at risk. The study involved 43 people with cerebral small vessel disease with an average age of 68. Researchers used MRIs at the start of the study to measure the leakiness of the blood-brain barrier for each participant. They then used another brain imaging technique to measure the integrity of the tissue's microstructures surrounding brain lesions. This imaging technique was repeated 2 years later to see whether the brain tissue integrity has decreased. Researchers measured the relationship between blood-brain barrier leakage and changes in brain tissue. They found the higher the tissue volume with blood-brain barrier leakage at the start of the study, the greater loss of brain tissue integrity was around the brain lesions 2 years later. I hope y'all caught that. For every 10% increase in leakage volume at the start of the study, after 2 years, the diffusivity of the brain tissue increased by 1.4%, representing a decrease in brain tissue integrity. Mhm. And they say the mind is a terrible thing to waste. They also found a similar relationship involving the leakage rate of the blood-brain barrier. A higher leakage rate at the start of the study resulted in more loss of the tissue microstructure around the brain lesions. Our results support the theory that a compromised blood-brain barrier may play an early role in loss of brain tissue integrity as part of the cerebral small vessel disease process, even before brain lesions are visible on MRI. The change in integrity of brain tissue at work close to the brain lesions could be a promising biomarker in future cerebral small vessel disease studies, examining possible prevention strategies and treatment options. A limitation of the study was that the short follow-up period may have underestimated the associations. Kirchhoff said future studies should measure such changes in larger groups of people over longer periods of time. Funding. The study was funded by the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program, SVDs that target a research program for small vessel disease. Okay. So hopefully that is kind of getting you caught up to what the blood-brain barrier is, or its purpose and all of that. Watch this. Show you something else, because this is all relating to the vaccine. It's all relating to the test, the test that they take when they shove something up your nose. Your blood-brain barrier is being compromised when you're getting tested. Yeah, and vaccines have something called, let me highlight it, ethyl mercury. You know, like there's like two kinds of mercury, And this one is supposed to be a lot safer, they like to say. They say ethyl mercury is a lot safer. Well, let me see. That's not quite the case. We're going to show you right here. See, we're going to examine the evidence that ethyl mercury crosses the blood-brain barrier. Because their studies, for some reason, said it doesn't. Because we're talking about environmental toxicology and pharmacology. February of 2020, right before Mr. COVID. But examining the evidence that ethyl mercury crosses the blood-brain barrier. Yep. And I'm not already, so I'm gonna be able to just shorten it for y'all. Boom. It says scientific research can provide us with factual, repeatable, measurable, and determinable results. As such, scientific research can provide information that can be used in the decision-making process in the care of patients and in public policy. Although it has been suggested that ethyl mercury containing compounds do not cross the blood-brain barrier, this review examines the literature that addresses the question as to whether ethyl mercury containing compounds cross the BBB. The review will begin with cellular studies that provide evidence for the passive and active transport of mercury species across the BBB. Then, animal and clinical studies will be presented that specifically examine whether mercury accumulates in the brain after exposure to ethyl mercury containing compounds, or thimerosal is what its medical name is called. An ethyl mercury containing compound used as a preservative in vaccines and other drugs that metabolizes or degrades to ethyl mercury containing compounds in thiosalicylate. The results indicate that ethyl mercury containing compounds are actively transported across membranes by the L-leucine preferring amino acid transport, the same as methyl mercury. I'm gonna go down here, boom, boom, boom. In total, let me highlight it just to make y'all have to see it. In total, these studies indicate that ethyl mercury containing compounds and thimerosal readily cross the BBB convert, for the most part, to highly toxic inorganic mercury containing compounds which significantly and persistently bind to tissues in the brain, even in the absence of concurrent detectable blood mercury levels. So this is what they found in the animals, the animal studies. This is what they found in the brain of the animals. Even though they said, oh, it doesn't even cross the blood-brain barrier to even get in the brain. There's no way this mercury is doing that. This is a different mercury. It's not quite as poisonous as the other. Everything is okay. Trust me. But thimerosal is clogging up and loading up in the brain. Peace, God. Yep. You was already aware that I was finna drop this one. Some of y'all got the inside scoop. But yeah, most definitely, like, it's serious. This blood-brain barrier should be protected at all costs. But what we getting it punctured. They're puncturing your blood-brain barrier. They're compromising your blood-brain barrier. Obviously, I mean, that invites foreign toxins already that's in your blood that the brain would never let in. That's inviting parasites or any virus that would be around. Anything that it can come in contact with, it would not be able to block it. It's like, his back, shoot, you opening the back door. Hold on. I think this is one. Yeah. Characteristics of the blood-brain barrier. The, the BBB, blood-brain barrier, is responsible for nutrient transport, homeostasis, and communication between the body and the brain, and also prevents foreign substances from reaching the brain. Maybe if you see it in black and white, you can believe it because, Calico just told you, but, seeing is believing. And research on the BBB, blood-brain barrier, dates to the 1800s when a barrier to the transport of solutes from the brain or from the blood to the brain was discovered. Paul Ehrlich furthered blood-brain barrier research with experiments demonstrating that passage into the brain of peripherally injected dyes was impeded. Small molecule permeability of the BBB blood-brain barrier is an important consideration for drug development. Not only does the blood-brain barrier impede small molecules transport, but active blood-brain barrier transports clear foreign materials that passes the protective layers. The blood-brain barrier is a dynamic, flexible interface between the brain and the body. The blood-brain barrier is composed of a monolayer of endothelial, ependymal, and tenocytic cells held together by restrictive tight junctions. Two types of cellular junctions halt passive diffusion and prevent leakiness between the endothelial cells. The intercellular adherence junctions and paracellular tight junctions. Like ain't nothing coming down this highway, because this is, something of intelligence. The brain created that. It was, it was, like I say, dynamically made to the point that it's stopping everything at the door. It's not letting nothing make it to the honeycomb. Adherence junctions are composed of vascular endothelium, cadherin, actinin, and catenin. Tight junctions consist of three major proteins: occludin, claudin, and junction adhesion molecules. Occludins are regulated by phosphorylation of serine, tyrosine, and threonine residues. Junction adhesion molecules regulate the formation of tight junctions during the acquisition of cell polarity. Furthermore, there are several other important cytoplasmic accessory proteins, including zonula, occludins, and cingulin. Altogether, these proteins maintain the integrity of the blood-brain barrier. Yeah, this is probably one of the most important parts of the body. There is no barrier around the heart, besides the chest, and that's like saying we have a skull around the brain, but there's nothing protecting any pollutants or parasites or anything of the sort from getting to the heart or any other part of the body. But the brain dynamically made this barrier to protect it. So we are actually puncturing it, of course. For some reason, we going along with whatever they say. We gonna actually puncture our blood-brain barrier. We actually gonna give ourselves leaky brains, which is a thing, a disease, a dis-ease. Can't be nothing comforting about that. So hold on. Yeah, this is just opening us up for further punishment. We can't handle our blood-brain barriers being compromised. If it's compromised, then we're gonna have lesions on the brain. like I say, the integrity of the tissues, microstructures surrounding brain lesions, have been the integrity have been decreased of the brain. The brain tissue's integrity had been decreased from the exact spot where the blood brain barrier was pricked or punctured. Yeah. So we making some grave mistakes here, I feel. And there's got to be a better way to test the people than to puncture the blood brain barrier of the brain. This is a deadly thing because you're going to pay for it later. You know, this is this has been a problem of many people with tumors and so-called cancers on the brain, a disease. If you compromise the blood-brain barrier and that decreases the brain tissue in that area, that's going to be dis-ease. That's going to be uneasy. That's not going to be confident. So we got to find a better way. If we have to be tested at all, if everybody don't just wake up and question everything, but just in case they don't wake up and question, and hopefully, just a few of y'all at least will. It's just obviously just an image depicting. But yeah, this is serious. So when y'all getting y'all test, I mean, I feel for you because you are compromising your blood-brain barrier. You know, like there's got to be a better way, and if there has to be a test, then y'all need to try the better way. Don't don't go this route if it's not necessary. And a lot of people are just doing these things for fun. A couple of y'all been tested multiple times, so we got multiple, pricks on that blood-brain barrier. We have compromised it on multiple occasions. You are a subject. You could easily be a subject or are already a subject of leaky brain. This is a thing. If I have to look it up for you one time. Hold on. Okay, y'all something. Hold on. Moving a little slow. It's coming up. About to wrap it up, but I definitely want to try this sauce on you. Okay. All right, hold on. Yeah. All right, we're right back. Just showing you that this ain't no. Is your brain leaking? The same leaky gut ideas are now being applied to the brain, blaming all kinds of symptoms on substances leaking through a faulty blood-brain barrier. Sometimes I think I have a leaky brain. Memories or facts, memories and facts have leaked out and been lost. So they're trying to make a joke out of it. Huh? Is leaky brain syndrome a bogus diagnosis? I can imagine what Google talking about. While there are documented defects in the BBB, blood-brain barrier, associated with some diseases, the concept of leaky brain syndrome appears to be a bogus diagnosis created by the functional medicine industry. By the functional, oh, not dysfunctional medicine industry. Okay, but it attributes all manners of symptoms to a leaky blood-brain barrier and claims a leaky brain is the cause of chronic neurodegenerative diseases. Who wants to find out? Who want to be the test dummy? Hmm. A brain is considered leaky when the blood-brain barrier has been compromised in some way. If the tight junctions become loose or broken, the blood-brain barrier becomes more permeable, and harmful substances can, no, they will leak in. Harmful chemicals and proteins can damage the brain. Duh, 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 leading to inflammation. In other words, a leaky brain is an inflamed brain. See, what we're getting at is the brain is 80% water or 85. It's like majority just water, So it can't even be at its peak because it's going to be inflamed. So that's going to force some of these fluids out, you know, because you have a compromised blood-brain barrier. It has to drip out. And it's not holding it in anymore. It's been compromised. No signs, symptoms, blood-brain barrier. Yeah, I can't make this up. You I can't make it. I wouldn't even try. I don't play no games. All right. Yeah, when you look up what's free that you could use commercially, you can't find much, but it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, we can go on for days. I mean, I ain't gonna make nobody a believer that ain't already understanding what it is and what it ain't. I'm sure some people will never understand. Mm, and that's the world we're living in. Yeah, this is such thing. So y'all already know. I'm sure the wise overstand what I'm saying, and they'll go out there and search, and they'll research some more. That's what the real ones do. You feel me? So to all the noble, I know y'all will do y'all due diligence. And I wish I could be proved wrong on this. Like every other wild thing my people are up against, I wish I could prove this wrong. But after searching and researching again, I don't see any faults in it. I feel the the blood brain barrier deserves some respect. The body is a temple. I think we shouldn't be compromising this blood brain barrier. I know we shouldn't. Not even think. You don't take a rocket scientist to know that it's doing its job keeping the toxins and pollutants and parasites out of the brain that will now freely roam in and out. So yeah, we're gonna we're gonna end it right there, but it's always gonna be part twos and such. We gotta do what we gotta do. Keep keep everybody caught up. Until next time, it's your boy D Calico, and this was the blood brain barrier. Hold on. And I'm out of here.